Eugene, it's been a fair while since we caught up. It's going to be a bit longer since we catch up with Israel and Brad and Carlos too. So that must be one of the downs of the year for you so far.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's part and parcel with a crazy year that 2020's been. But yeah, I've been stuck overseas through a series of just mishaps and just through some just the way the circumstances worked out. Stuck overseas, but what can we do? They're staying very positive. Their attitudes amaze me, to be honest. They've all found things to do. They've all found work, so they're all going to make a little bit of money over there as well. So they're just making the most of the situation. They're in California at the moment. They're in San Diego, which is a beautiful city, and they're just staying safe and training. They're training a lot. They're training with one of our one of the biggest and best jiu-jitsu teams in the world, who we're a jiu-jitsu affiliate of. They're training with multiple world champions and stuff, and they're doing that every day. So they're making the most of a bad situation, which is their attitudes at the moment are exemplary. I couldn't be happier with those guys. And at the end of the day, you can ask those guys to their face, would they have taken away that opportunity that Carlos has got if they knew this was going to happen? Absolutely not. They would have, it wouldn't have made a difference. They would have still been there with Carlos, whether they had to stay overseas for a week, 2 weeks, or 90 days. It doesn't matter. So making the most of that situation. I'm very pleased with their attitudes.
We talk about Carlos's fight because that was his dream, wasn't it? Up against a pretty tough guy with good record, and to end it like that was something special.
Yeah, well, a very difficult situation Carlos was in, because when you're on the Dana White Contender Series, you have to impress. And to be honest, if you go by their track record, I've seen guys fight on that show and win and look very impressive doing it and still not get chosen. So this put us in a difficult situation where we knew Carlos had to have a really big, spectacular win, so he had to really go after it. And when you game plan for that kind of thing, sometimes it ends up getting thrown in your face a little bit. So yeah, we had to take some risks to get him on the show with the game plan. We had to go after the guy, which is something I don't normally do. And luckily it paid off. So there was a more conservative side, more conservative argument from members of the team that were with Israel being there, Brad being there, with the gym, being in the position that it is now with the UFC, all Carlos has to do is win. He could just win boring and he'll still get in, right? But there was the flip side of that might not be true, and that his lack of experience might count against him. So we decided that we wouldn't take any risks and we would go for the finish, and we thought that was the best way to get our foot in the door, and it worked. So this time the gamble paid off. So when you take a gamble like that, it's always not going to pay off, but this time we did well. So yeah, Carlos did a spectacular job. Couldn't be happier for him. He's a guy that has the talent and the athleticism, and the most important thing, he has the attitude to be the best guy in that division. Yeah.
That's a big statement, but yeah, we've all seen him go before. What else do we want to tell you any more about? The boys over there, how does it impact if they had to come back straight to New Zealand, things had to be normal, how soon would they have been fighting, and because of the situation now, how long will it be before they get in the cage again?
No, it doesn't. I mean, and that's one of the lucky things about the whole situation is it doesn't really affect that at all. Like they would have still be fighting on the same day. They're looking at, in that first quarter of the year. So we're looking February, March for all those guys. Obviously, we have Israel lining up the young Rakic fight. We have Alex Volkanovski fighting. Who's he got? Who's the guy that won? Brian Ortega. Those two fights will be lined up, and then once those two fights will be lined up, then we'll start pushing all the other guys to be on those guys' undercards. So that's definitely going to happen February, March. So that would happen regardless of the and stuff. They're going to be back. They'll actually get out Christmas Day, I think.
Well, they've been away, but you've certainly haven't been resting. You've got a Wimp to Warrior show. Can you tell people that may be watching overseas that don't know about Wimp to Warrior?
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't been resting at all. I've been there's still plenty of fights going on in New Zealand, so I've been trying to help out some of the fighters, some of the local fighters, and trying to get to some of those local events and stuff. But yeah, I have Wimp to Warrior show coming up, which after 20 weeks of doing Wimp to Warriors, they will jump on and do their first MMA fight. This one's been a lot more than 20 weeks. This has been going since February because of COVID. So this is kind of this is a special group, to be honest. I got 25 fights, which is a ridiculous amount of fights, but that's testament to those people that hung in there since February. I could have potentially had 35, 40, so inevitably there's some people that just couldn't, that had to pull out. But yeah, a testament to those guys. I've still got 25 fights, a massive night, 40 tables sold. All the GAs are already selling. So 4th of December, YMC Pitt Street, 5 p.m. onwards. If you're interested in doing your first MMA fight, or if you're interested in the sport and you want to see what these guys get up to after doing all their training, then please come along and check it out, and you'll get a little insight into what it's all about. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I've just been I went to Tony's show,
Art of War 13,
to Peninsula, and I couldn't believe it. That was just a fantastic show to be at. I had some of my fighters on there. That same night, I was driving back and forth to the P3 Boxing, which is at Sky City. The next day, I went to the Auckland Champs, and I watched some
boxing
fights, or boxing, which I haven't done that for years. I saw a kid there. Shout out to him. His name's TK, who actually lost his fight, but it just flabbergasted me that his determination to be on the losing end of the battle for most of it, but just keep coming. And this was a kid. This was tiny, and then I'm going to go, next week I'm going to go to Timaru, to a show down there. So I've never been to Timaru. It's been a while since I've been down to the South Island, so I'm going to check out a show down there. I've got young Ashley Nisbet fighting down there, so I'm really looking forward to seeing Timaru and seeing all the local fights down there. And for me, it's just it's just refreshing, because I think what a lot of people probably don't understand is that when you're going to all these massive shows where there's so much at stake and there's so much economics involved, it's such a cutthroat environment. It's such a ruthless environment. No one gives you any quarter. There's no friends. Everybody's, the first thing you assume is that the person next to you is your enemy. It's just a completely different environment to our local environment, and you can always cut the air with a knife like this, and that's fine. That's the environment that we thrive for. That's the environment that we want to work under. That's what we love doing. But sometimes you need to step away from that and understand that there's a whole other part of the sport, and that's what you can easily forget. And coming home and having a little bit more time at home than what I usually have has made me understand and made me appreciate the sport a bit more. The sport at the grassroots level, where there's still a code. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that code gets lost in the amongst all the professionalism, amongst professional fighting. There's still a code. There's still you still have to be honourable to each other. All the trainers are getting on. The fighters know each other. The fighters have fought multiple times. Like, that code gets lost. So that was a long-winded way of saying, look, I'm really happy to be home, and the support of the local shows, they're magnificent. I still get blown away by the talent, the local talent, and the local talent blew me away 10 or 15 years ago, and it's probably blew me away even more now. All we have to do as like Kiwis and trainers, coaches and gyms, we just have to harness that. And I just guarantee, just like I've been showing, I guarantee if we can harness that, they can go just as far as any other, we can go take that talent just as far as anywhere else in the world.
And do you think it's because the trainers and that have had to do it so hard that it readies everything, like for the build up, the fighters, they all have to make their own way. There's no handouts.
Yeah, I mean, look, in New Zealand, we're like definitely a marginalised sport. Like, it's changing a little bit now. Like the Joseph Parker Junior Bar thing. Like, now our sporting events in terms of the fight sports are getting like some big publicity. But it's still, for the most part, a really niche sport, a marginalised sport. So we don't get any help. There's no high performance sport. There's no grants for us. There's no like sponsors and endorsements like jumping out to kind of back our sport. But I always say that that's what has lent us to this position we're in now, that we've had to be so resourceful. We've had to come up with everything ourselves. The most important thing that will push our sport to the next level is that Kiwi attitude, that number 8 wire attitude. It's that intellectual property that we can have. In terms of intellectual property, we can compete on an equal level. We just, there's nothing stopping us from being smarter than our opposition. There's nothing stopping us at all. There might be other factors that can hinder us. We don't have the best equipment. We don't have the best support from the economy. We don't have the best support from the government. There might be other factors like that. But one thing we can stay on equal par with, and do, if not do better, is our intellectual property. We can be just as smart, if not smarter, than some of these bigger countries who have a longer tradition in the sport.